Hi guys, welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. And today we are gonna see the verdicts, the epics, the top of the tops of analog reproduction with His Majesty Luxman L-590AX Mark II. Let's go! Okay guys, yes, look here, fantastic, amazing, integrated, probably one of the maximum, best, outrageous, state-of-the-art integrated amplifiers out there. Together with probably Macintosh, Past Labs, which actually I was considering to get, but in the end, for all the features and the amazing quality of the sonics, I decided to go all in with the Luxman. Okay guys, so as you have seen, this is, and you probably have seen it around, I mean, with these amazing VU meters, you cannot not notice this in all the line, the different kinds, the different editions and versions of amplifiers by Luxman, the integrated ones. The blue ones, the blue LED, blue VU meters are for class B. The white one, which should be the top of the line, is class AB, and the yellow ones, like this one or orange, are class A. And in fact, I wanted a high-end class A amplifier. Oh yes, mama. 30 watts per channel in pure class A with 8 ohms, under 8 ohms, which should reach 60 watts with 4 ohms. And someone else measured a subsequent phase in class AB when reaching 90 watts per channel. But that's not declared by Luxman, okay? There were other measurements in other magazines and things like that. In any case, already 30 watts per channel in pure class A is enough to drive a huge amount of loudspeakers, obviously. Especially those who are sensitive. I mean, you want a sensitive loudspeaker, a high sensitivity. That's obviously going to be much easier for this amplifier to drive. Well, before diving in, I'm not going to go through the specs this time. I'll just put here the sheet. In any case, you can go and take a look at the site. I mean, there's no need to go through them. They're normal, classic specs, I would say. Nothing too amazing. Even though all the different features, when we're going to see them after more in depth, do create a special product, which does have an amazing sound, which I was not expecting. Yes, obviously, we're talking about a $9,000 integrated amplifier. So something which obviously is very, very high end. We're not talking of something normal. This is obvious. So you are going to expect a huge performance. But I must admit, already, since the beginning, I want to say this. It does deliver. Absolutely. So, are you ready? You want to see a little bit more of the features of the different knobs, commands, and what's inside? Let's get to it. Okay, guys, here we are. Let's try to take a look now at the main functions in front, the front faceplate of our Luxman. Let's get to it. Okay, here, as you can see, is the button to turn on the unit. It takes just a few seconds, and then it's ready to operate. From starting right now. Almost. There we go. Okay, we're set. So it takes about, like, as you have seen, 10, 12 seconds, more or less, something like that. Nothing too bad. Much better than a tube amplifier, that's for sure. Okay, so let's start here from the left knob. as you can see, we have a lot of inputs. Oh yes, baby. 7 inputs, 4 line inputs with this nice knob. Can you hear the click of the relays? Very, very nice. We have, as we will see afterwards, behind the 2 balance inputs. Hooray! And also a very good phono stage. If you have your own, this is useless, obviously. But maybe you want to connect 2 turntables. Maybe you want to try different things. In any case, it's there, and it's of good quality. Okay, let's see now what we have here below. We have a monitor button, which turns on this little light over here, this LED. And what does this do? This is to monitor, obviously, to listen to the output of your recording. This is a feature that was found in the past, as you can imagine, in old amplifiers. Actually, even in the Luxman L-10 that we have seen. If you haven't seen that video, take a look here at this link, because that is a jaw-dropping amp, very cheap. Nothing even close to this. But it still retains a high quality, absolutely. In any case, this is already a function within the recording aspect, and that is what I love. I already told you this. This is the cool part of this machine. If you're interested in recording, I am very much. So this is a function connected to, as I said, to monitor what is being recorded on your tape recorder, for example, instead of using the monitor there. So you can also listen it through your speakers if you want, or through your headphone amplifier, or whatever it is. High quality headphone amplifier, for example. In any case, let's turn this off. Then what do we have here below? We have the selector for the moving magnet or moving coil cartridge. We have the possibility to turn on the recording function on and off. On and off. Yeah, this simply makes sure that the output signal, when turned on, is going out from those outputs and going into your recorder. Otherwise, it would be continuous, and we don't want that. That's a dispersion of the signal. It's just better to have a knob if you can. And in this case, we have it. Here we have the speaker selector. For any reason, you can turn it completely off. Otherwise, speaker group A, speaker group B, because as we will see behind afterwards, you can connect to multiple speakers. Again, a typical feature of the past amplifiers, or you can also combine them, as we will see better later. Then we have the typical EQ buttons, actually knobs, for the bass, the treble, and also to balance the signal left or right. Plus, we have one of my favorite features of this machine. Line straight. It was already selected. What is line straight? Line straight bypasses all the filters, the EQ, any other thing that is going on inside the machine. It just bypasses it and goes directly to the speaker's output. Fantastic, guys. I mean, that is something that really enhances the quality. In fact, when you deselect it, I perfectly hear that the finesse, the details, all of a sudden just get smeared. In fact, a good compromise, a good comparison is when you select the loudness. Now we'll try to go also on that. Just to clear out here the last parts, separate, another interesting feature. By clicking this, you can separate the preamp from the power amp, because as we know, this is an integrated amplifier. If by any chance you want to buy another power amplifier, or you want to buy a preamplifier, you can use this for either one. Very, very, very cool. You just have to press that. Headphone output. This is the weak point here. Not so good, not so good. 6.35 millimeter, but the quality is very, very normal. It is good. It is a good output, absolutely. There's a good amplifier in there, but it's not very powerful. That's the problem. So I can't use my plantar magnetic, for example. But a good dynamic headphone will absolutely work here for you. And here we have the potentiometer. We have the volume, the knob volume, this new Lequa, which is a new microprocessor controlled mechanism. They're very proud of this. They're advertising it all over the place. Seems normal and nice. It's a good feeling, good resistance to me, but nothing that special, I mean, at least for me. But maybe I'm missing out on something. In any case, as a final user, I'm using this as a final user. I don't see particular differences between other volume knobs, potentiometers, and other gear. Okay. Plus, I want to just spend a few words on the VU meters, because I don't know why, but a lot of people are convinced that these are just because they're beautiful. Absolutely, they are beautiful, appealing. Who doesn't like VU meters? I'm sure someone doesn't, but most of us do. But they have a function. This is a recording machine. That's why you need these. These are very helpful. Actually, for example, when I use my M15, my Telefunken, my reel-to-reel recorder, I don't have anything there connected to these. I can use these, for example, to record and to see the signal, etc. The balance and several aspects there, several information. So the VU meters are very, very handy if you're interested in recording. The other functions here below, we already seen the monitor, the subsonic filter, which is another typical thing of the past. You have to activate it like most of these controls we're going to see now with the remote control, okay? As we know, the subsonic filter is to reduce the rumble in LP reproduction, but it's a filter. I prefer not to use it. We have a very useful mono. Let's click something here. Let's do something here, guys. You have to take away the line straight, that's for sure. Then you click mono. There you go. Now it's mono. It's also loudness. Let's take away the loudness. There you go. So now it's mono. If you're using a mono cartridge, it's also good to select this. Or if you don't, if you're using a stereo cartridge, this will save you. Absolutely. Let's deselect it. We have the standby little LED. Above, we have the remote area where the remote signal interacts with the remote control. Then we have loudness. That's another typical feature of past amplifiers. And it is very useful. It is very useful, especially when you want to listen to your music, but you can't use it at very high levels. And this practically boosts the bass and the treble. It does. It's an EQ curve, actually. And with lower volume, actually, you do have the sensation to have that bass. It's especially meant for bass, for lower notes, okay? Lower frequencies. Because obviously, as we all know, in most amplifiers, especially Class A, when you start to reduce the volume, a lot of that finesse, a lot of that boom and that crispy quality sound just degrades, unfortunately. This helps a lot. Also, if you have very naughty and not kind neighbors, that's also going to be helpful. And for example, late at night for near field listening sessions or things like that, there's a lot of functions. And I do like it, although, as I said before, line straight, which is right next to it, is the best of the best. Can't go wrong. And then we have also the little LED for the separate, which I told you before. Okay, let's take a look at behind.
So I'm not going to turn the beast around. It's just too complicated, but important is that we have good pictures to analyze the back and afterwards the inside. So this is just, I wanted to show you how it presents itself. When you receive the amplifier, you're going to have all these nice little Luxman caps on them to protect all the inputs and outputs. Very, very nice. And I have the version like this one without the switch, as we will see. See here, we have on this side this part where you could connect other equipment which can be turned on by the amplifier. In any case, let's start all the way from over here. As we have seen, we have a great phono stage with its own ground. Here is the input. We also have 4 nice, amazing inline inputs. I love the quantity of inputs and also, as we will see, outputs that we have here. Fantastic. Here, in fact, we have the recording section. I don't know if you noticed, Luxman just released an anniversary, I think 75 or 85, maybe 85 or 95, I don't remember, an anniversary version of this in Class A, and it does not have the VU meters, and in fact, on the back, it does not have the recording compartment. It is just plain Class A amplifier with no recording capabilities. Here you do. As I said, we have the recording output. Anything that comes from any source can be sent here, and usually use this as a monitor in order to monitor directly from here through your headphones or also through your loudspeakers the output of the recording, the tape recorder, the cassette recorder, wherever it is. On the manual, it says that this monitor can also be used simply to output the signal of any source, exactly like this. I have tried, and actually I did not get any signal. In any case, this is what they say in the manual. So maybe I have to further experiment, or maybe there are some limitations. I don't know. This is a little downside that I found. But maybe, again, I just want to underline, maybe it's me. Here, as we have said before, we have the compartments to use this as a preamplifier or to use it as a power amplifier. You can decide right here. And another very cool part is, as you can see, is the part dedicated to the balanced inputs. So together with these, we have 6 inputs. Plus, you also have the possibility to change the phase. So for example, you're using old machines with XLR or Tushel or other balanced connections. With this, with just the switch of the knob, you can invert the cold in the hot poles. Very easy and very cool. Here below, the 2 parts for 2 sets of speakers. You can also use them together. Obviously, in that case, you're gonna increase the impedance. And plus, we have the AC inlet. And that's it. Okay, let's take a look now in the inside. Oh, yes, baby. Beautifully displayed. Here, as you can see, we have all the inputs. Here we have the Lequa 1000 electronically controlled attenuator or potentiometer, however you want to call it. Plus, here we have this perfectly isolated power compartment. We have a huge E, which is something actually quite an anomaly almost, because everybody is using toroidal transformers. Here we have an EI block, which I guess is a great choice, because afterwards I'm going to talk about the sound signature, and I have good news there. I do have good news, but let's just see a little bit more here about the different components. We have 8 1000 microfarad capacitors right here, probably 4 by 4. In general, we have a separation of the left channel and the right channel, as you can see. Huge dissipation heat sinks right here. Very, very nice. Everything is really set off in its own compartment. Plus, if you take a look, for example, at the site, you'll see a lot of information of specific technology implemented in this. Like, for example, here along these boards for each channel, we have these ODNF, the only distortion negative feedback. Now, the whole concept of negative feedback was actually introduced by Luxman in 1955. So they have a patent on this. And according to them, this is an evolution of this circuit, which obviously should be, it's very precise, should be able to reduce greatly and only distortion, leaving just the natural flow of the signal. Not completely zero, obviously, that's going to be really hard to do, but very, very low. A very excellent slew rate and ultra wide bandwidth, they declare. So all these components, plus the use of OFC copper in the wiring, that's something also very, very appreciated, at least for me, which they mention because should be reducing along with other types of solutions around this circuit to greatly reduce the impedance, because this is a problem. With all this stuff, there is the risk to have a high impedance, and we don't want that. We want low impedance. In fact, the damping factor, which was quite low in the past, in the previous model, has been raised from, I think, 240 all the way up to 320, which is a very good rate. The higher the better when we're talking about damping factor, if you believe in damping factor, because a lot of people say it doesn't mean a damn, a damping. No, I'm just kidding. In any case, all these, as I said, all this care, all this attention to reduce the impedance. Also, for example, something else that I like is this discrete buffer circuit, which you can find on the flagship model of their separate amplifiers, which is, quote, protecting the purity of the audio signal with simultaneously enhancing the drive force of the power amplifier. There's also attention for the chassis, which they call the loopless chassis structure, which should eliminate ground impedance increase. We have these iron cast insulation legs, or feet, I would call them,
and many other functions that I invite you to discover online. Okay, that's it. Okay, now that we've got out of the way the different aspects, the different specifications, a few of the different components, I invite you to take a look in their website, because there's, in the manual itself, there's lots more functions, which when you start to read them and you understand the concept behind, you do understand why they're asking such a high price. Apart from all the different components being high, top-notch quality, obviously. So, I already want to say that this guy is delivering, again, 30 watts per channel in pure Class A. As we know, Class A is always amplifying. It's always working. It's not like most of the amplifiers out there, AB, where you do have an amplification and then something that recreates. We could say with the B amplification recreates the sound wave. Class A is always working and consumes a darn amount of energy, as we all know. In fact, obviously here we have a lot of heat. My Prima Luna obviously was creating a lot of heat. This guy create just the same amount of heat. So now we're in July. Pretty warm, guys. But the important is to leave some space on top, obviously. I don't like that much these dissipators here, these heat sinks up here, because the Class AB, the top of the notch, the 509, is all aluminum, nicely engraved, much more nice. A lot of money is going there also for the higher price. In any case, this does the work, so no problem with all. I mean, it's okay. It's not that nice, I think, in my opinion. In any case, you're rewarded from the rest, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the sound. The good and the bad. Well, I must admit that the sound really engaged me immediately. I lost the depth and soundstage of my tube amplifier, which I had with the Prima Luna. Things got a little more narrow, okay? But these are precisely sculpt. So a good imaging, but not air. I'm missing a little bit of air, okay? That's absolutely true. Which instead, a tube amplifier does give you, in my opinion. I percept that. But the sound is so engaging. Other people said it's not warm. I think it's a warm, but at the same time, absolutely natural sounding. And I want to underline this, because a lot of times when you say natural, neutral, it's boring, it's flat. Not in this case, baby. Not in this case. The sound is nice and juicy, nice and present, nice and detailed. I mean, the high end, the top of the frequencies are nice and crisp and defined. Excellent mid-range, fantastic vocals, and amazing, powerful, dynamic, and precise bass. Wawa gazawa. The only downside, but this is something typical of these type of amplifiers, is that if you want to have all this package, this quality, you have to turn the darn knob up. The volume has to be high. Because as soon as you go down in the lower part of the knob, you just feel that a lot of parts are disappearing. I mean, it's a good sound, but other amplifiers, integrated amplifiers that I had, did just as good, absolutely, and they cost 4 or 5 times less. So when you start to put some juice inside, you really hear the difference. So if you do not like, or if you can't simply listen to this baby at a high volume, don't go for it. It's a waste of money. Yes, it's true, they have the loudness button, which boosts up a few frequencies, but in any case, it's just a placebo. Well, not placebo, it's just to help you out, as I said before, but you're losing a lot of finesse and details and the quality of that sound, which this system, this amazing EI type of transformer, which a lot of people do not like, but in this case, boy, guys, if it works, it's just amazing, and you're gonna lose that if you're not listening at a certain amount of volume. Once again, so that's the biggest downside. Another thing I don't like, and I heard other reviews, I read around that also in other models, the headphone output amplifier, it's good, but it's not powerful at all, as I said before. So nothing special there. But the rest, I love the features. I almost went for the pass labs, okay? Because, disclaimer, this isn't coming from anybody. I didn't have a discount. I didn't have anything. I found a good price on an online store here in Europe, yes, but that's it. I mean, I'm a normal consumer in this sense. And I was about to go with the Past Labs, which just came out with an amazing amplifier, very similar amount of watts, but it doesn't have any features, nothing. So take into consideration that amplifier, because we know Past Labs is top of the notch. But this Luxman is so rich in features and the capability of recording different types of inputs, outputs, balanced inputs. It's just something that for me withs automatically. Plus, the sound is truly flattening, phenomenal, stellar, fantastic at high levels though. Considering all of this, I do want to give an award, and the Luxman won finally a gold medal award. I know the price is insane, okay? Insane. But I must admit that I never ever heard something this good and this engaging, especially considering that it's a solid state type of design. I mean, I really got in tubes, but if you go that further kilometer, actually 10 kilometers, this stuff is just addicting. Well, okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave me your comments if you have or listened to other models or this model in your system. What's the good, what's the bad? in any other product by Luxman, because I do have a soft spot for them. As you know, I did review the L10 in the past videos, which is now vintage stuff, vintage gear, but their sound signature does have something special, which I duly and greatly and deeply love. So long for my prima luna. Welcome, Luxman. Bye, guys.
Well, guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.